Well, joining me now is the head coach from the Wheatland Football League champions, the Holy Rosary Raiders. This is Vince Orieux. Vince, thank you for taking this time and joining me. Now, an incredibly successful season for your team from the start to the finish. Just take us back to September 3rd, your first preseason game, and sort of just run us through the season here.
Sure. So, we started practices August 16th. And after about a week of practice, we started off with the jamboree in Cold Lake, where there was no special teams, just offense and defense. And, kids, everybody got a chance to play quite a bit. And we got a chance to see kind of where kids fit at each position. And then from there, we went to Paul Kane on September 3rd, played an exhibition game there with full special teams. And, it wasn't great. It wasn't a great football game for either team, but obviously it was a learning experience for everybody. And there was lots of kids new to football and some other kids just kind of knocking the rust off after a year without. But we saw some good things as well. And then from there, September 10th, we went into Red Deer to play Hunting Hills. And it was like a completely different football team. We saw some maturity, we saw leadership, we saw some skill in kids that we didn't know was there. And that's where things really started to come together for us. And we were excited then moving forward into the season. And then from there, we get into our regular season, played Lloyd Comp on the 17th, and lots of unknowns obviously going into that game. And, having the crosstown rivalry, it kind of gets built up a little bit, more than maybe it should at some times, because kids are, pretty much they're friends and played minor football together and stuff. But for whatever reason, it gets blown up pretty big. So it's lots of stress going into that one. It's a lot of week of prep, or a big it's a big week of preparation and get the kids focused in on just playing football and not the hype that surrounds it. But, we showed up big in that game, and forget the final score, 56-7 or something like that. Like, our kids really exploded in that game. And, we were excited about getting that win. From there, it was Cold Lake, and we had a bit of a scare. We had a COVID scare on the team, and we lost about 13 players for that game. Went into Cold Lake with 21 kids, and but it happened to be the right 21. And I think we laid a lick on about 62-0 or something like that, and it was straight time even in the second quarter. From there, it was St. Paul, and they came here, and I want to say the final score was 49-0. I don't have it in front of me, but we just kept building, and the offense was rolling, and defense just kept building all this confidence. From St. Paul, we went on to play Wainwright, I believe, just before Thanksgiving, the Thursday night before Thanksgiving, and went down there, and I think it was 57-0 or something like that. Just zeros kept piling up, and points for us were adding up, and the offense was moving. After the break, we had Bonnyville. We went to Bonnyville, and wasn't a great game. It was okay. I think it was 43-0 or something like that. But all the way along throughout these regular season games, we're getting everybody in. So backups are playing in the second half. It's straight time, so they're not getting as many reps as they would have hoped for. But everyone's playing. Everyone's getting a chance to develop. And from there we get into our league playoffs. We play Wainwright again in the league semifinal, and it was 54-0 or something like that. Not much of a test there. And then get ready for a league final against Lloyd Comp again. And boys showed up big there. It was 52-0 in that game. So you can see a trend with the shutouts kind of happening. We hadn't had a point scored on us since September 17th. And then we get into provincial playoffs. We're looking at playing Sylvan Lake. We went down there and watched them and had some film on them. And they were good, solid quarterback, really good running back. They had one or two guys that play in the O&D line that were solid. It was a good week of prep, and went in there, played them on a Friday night. It was very competitive for the first quarter. We had got stuffed a couple times, had to punt early, which we weren't really used to, but ended up scoring with a minute left in the first quarter to take a 7-0 lead. And in the second quarter, we scored 28. Went into halftime 35-0. We were able to come out of that going into straight time in the second half, which pretty rare in a provincial game, especially against a quality opponent. They were better than the score reflected, but once we started rolling, it was really hard to stop. And again, defense stepped up, and they had a heck of a game. From there, provincial semifinal against Sturgeon. They had a good season. We had a bit of film on them where they lost a game to Lillian Osborne and didn't look very good, but saw some other games where they played and looked like really solid. They had a good running back, quarterback, get the ball out pretty quick, couple of good receivers. They played Peace River in their quarterfinal and beat them 38-0 or something like that. So we knew they could score. Went down to Sherwood Park to play them on the 20th, and it was a cold day. It was snowing and it was windy, and the field was covered in snow and ice, and it was really miserable conditions. But the boys persevered. We came out with a 43-0 victory, and feeling pretty good about ourselves going into provincial final. And there, of course, we faced a very familiar foe with Cochrane, played them the last 5 provincial championships. And, you hear all the time, or we heard all year that, they're not as strong this year. They're not going to be as good. It's a year. You hear a little bit of noise like that. But it's funny. You only hear that from teams that never play them. You only hear that from teams that see them or maybe see the record and see that they lost one game and thought, well, they're not going to be as strong. You can't discredit the league that they play in. They have some solid teams in their league. So every once in a while you're going to drop a game. They came back in their league final and took them to overtime to win it. But eventually at the end of the day, they won their league, and they're a solid team coming out. In their semifinal and quarterfinal, they never allowed a point either. Scores were very similar, like 52-0 and 42-0. So we knew what we were up against, and we went in there, played at Commonwealth Stadium on Friday afternoons. It was great. Football Alberta and AS2A hosted just an amazing event. Made the kids feel really welcome and special, being in Commonwealth. And the game was competitive. It was 15-7 at the end of the game. Unfortunately, we were on the losing end of that, but proud of the kids for the way they competed. And they started strong and they finished strong. There was no quitting those kids. And, that's sort of the 2021 chapter of Raiders football. And, we're planning started on the bus ride home for 2022. So we're looking forward to the group we have coming back, and we're excited about getting some grade 9s in for minor football and just keep rolling.
Now, Vince, this was a young, unexperienced team just due to the fact that there was no 2020 season. Now, did this team break your expectations?
Absolutely. Like even the seniors we had didn't really play a whole bunch when they were in grade 10. I think Chaz Walker is the only one that started as a grade 10. The rest were there watching. And in that particular year in 2019, we had closer games. We weren't blowing teams out. So there was fewer opportunities for backups to actually get in. So the 2 games we played in 2020, when things were more or less shut down, we did find, Red Deer Cougars from Notre Dame High School and Red Deer. They had the ability to put a team together and play. So we did play 2 games against those guys, where some of those grade 11s got in and got some valuable experience, even though it was only 2 games. So when we started the season, we only had 6 or 7 kids in grade 12 with any sort of experience. And we had to rely a lot on them, and they came through big time. Like, they really showed their leadership and experience and led the way for these grade 10s and 11s, who for some of them have never played a high school football game before. They were on the roster, say, in 2020, but with 18 seniors that year, those 2 games that we played were focused just on the seniors. And we told the kids that going in. So a lot of them didn't see the field even in 2 games. So to go in there and to have grade 10s who have never experienced high school football and grade 11s who had a uniform on, but that's about it for 2 games. We were pleasantly surprised that these kids developed as quickly as they did. And the future looks bright because they played a huge role in our team this year.
Vince, both sides of the ball were dominant for this Raiders team, whether it was putting up those zeros game after game after game on the defensive side, or, scoring 40 or 50 points per game. I guess just if you had to pinpoint one thing that made both sides so dominant, what would it be?
I think just commitment to the process. The kids bought into the system, and on the offensive side of the ball, we had a really good balanced attack on the ground and in the air. If one wasn't working, we could go to the other, and we could rely on kids in every position to get things done. And on defense, it was just this determination. And once the zero started rolling up, they took this pride in, okay, let's try to keep this streak going. But it's just toughness. They played the game the way it's supposed to be played, fast and physical on both sides of the ball.
Now, the team might not have won the provincial championship, but You did win a Wheatland championship, the first one for Holy Rosary since 2017. Just what does this mean to yourself and to the players who, obviously put it all on the field?
Yeah, and we can't overlook that championship, and sometimes we do. You win that one, and then you're so focused on provincials that you forget about the accomplishments along the way. So every week and every game we grew and got a little bit better. And I think because of the season we had when we got to the final, we were expected to win, and then we did. And then I'm not sure if we celebrated that enough with the kids, because we sort of talked about it and said congratulations and took the team picture under the scoreboard and stuff on that Friday night. But the next day it was, okay, we have film, let's get working on next week. So when we get an opportunity to bring the team back together, if we have a banquet or whatever we're allowed to do, and team celebration, we're going to have to spend some time celebrating those victories and not dwell on that loss that we had in our last game, for sure.
Well, Vince, thank you very much for taking this time and joining me. This was Vince Orieux, head coach of the Holy Rosary Raiders. Vince, hopefully your off season is as successful as your regular season was.